With a punishment of up to 2 years of imprisonment, we are deeming that such activities are of similar severity as causing death by negligent act, as in section 304AB, wrongfully confining any person for 3 or more days, in section 345, and assault or use of criminal force to a person with intent to outrage modesty, in section 3541. I do know quite a number of homosexual men and women. The majority, well, if not all of them, do not fall into any of those above-mentioned stereotype categories. Well, they include some very talented and creative people. Well, a common descriptor of gays, which many have said that it is totally unfounded. Well, these are the directors, actors, hairstylists, designers. But I also know many gay men who many will say are just your average man on the street, making a living as lawyers, lecturers, engineers, accountants, bankers, teachers, and civil servants. I know they have different sexual practices from me, and I have treated them just as any other person. Now I'm reminded that perhaps I should see them as criminals who should spend time behind bars. Hopefully the government will provide the environment to encourage the continuation of such a dialogue so that society at large can achieve a better understanding of the subject matter. Hopefully the review will happen earlier rather than another 23 years later. Hopefully we will move with and not play catching up with the pace of change around the world that is affecting people's lives.
I think I would be remiss as a legislator if I merely hid behind the views of the Conservative majority and maintain the status quo, which of course would be the least inconvenient thing to do if you're not gay. So I'm not convinced that there would be drastic consequences in our society if we do not repeal 377A. Neither am I convinced that we will all rapidly slip down the slippery road if we were to repeal 377A, as suggested by some members. The slippery road argument has less of an impact on me these days, as I've heard that sort of argument used many times before. Sir, if the experts and MM and PM are indeed correct, and some of our MPs wrong, that some of us are indeed born with different sexual orientations, then it would be quite wrong of us to criminalize and to persecute those that are born different from us, regardless of how conservative a society we claim to be, especially if their actions do not cause harm to third parties. Now, surely the minister must acknowledge that women are as capable as men of committing such acts. Is Section 377A, therefore, as it stands, a correct statement of our values and principles? Or are there no lesbians in Singapore? Would we not be seen as being narrow-minded, perhaps even bigoted in our philosophy towards people who are born different and engage in practices not approved by the majority, even if no harm is done to others? If we would not, then I think we should show leadership and convince the majority to do what is fair, just, and representative of the age in which we live, and that it does not make sense to have a law we do not intend to proactively enforce, and that intimate relations between consenting adults in the privacy of one's bedroom is not the business of the government.